Hello and welcome to another episode of Inspiring Teachers. I'm Tavis Beam.
And I'm Danny Hogger.
And on this episode, we are coming to you from the CTA New Teachers Conference in Santa Clara, California. And we talked to Michelle Ramos, one of the organizers and middle school teacher and all-around great person.
Yeah, she was really cool. She kind of got us fired up, and she called us out right from the beginning of the conference. She's introducing us at like 8 in the morning, and she said our names, and in a room full of like 500 people, I went, woo! And she said something like, what'd she say?
Well, you're disruptive and you're in trouble and you're going to have detention.
It actually made me feel kind of awkward. It made me wish I would have just shut up. But what it did was establish that Michelle's a really fun person.
Yeah, she played right along.
She talks about balance and the benefit of conferences, but also just kind of like how energy is so important to a teacher.
Yeah, and just being your genuine, authentic self for your students so that you're not having to pretend to be anybody else.
And I would say that she really hit a high note. And she was that kind of person where it's like we just met her, but she made us feel like we could be fun in ourselves. That's a rare quality, I think, in a person who can be that way.
She really struck a chord with us.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
We didn't plan either of those. And that's the kind of person that I feel like she is, where, what did she say at one point in the interview? That you just stare down into an opportunity and you go for it. And we talked about teachable moments too. So she seems like she's a very mindful, fun person, over 20 years in the classroom. Yeah. And I had a blast meeting her. So thanks for doing this, Michelle. And thank you, CTA, because she's a rep and a member. And at ctago.org, you can find all the conference schedules. We were glad to be a part of this day, and she's a big reason for it.
Yeah. And if you like this, go back and check out other episodes from the conference and other episodes that we've been doing. We've been doing this for about 1.5 years now. So there's a lot of content out there, a lot of fantastic teachers that you can listen to us interview.
Yeah, we've had a blast. So please support our show, and please enjoy this interview with Michelle Ramos.
See, this is it. We are here with Michelle Ramos at the CTA New Educator Weekend 2002. This is Inspiring Teachers.
2002?
Oh, my goodness. See, I'm dyslexic.
Start. Back to the future.
There we go.
I love it.
Yeah, 2020. I was reading it right off the board there, too, to make it easy on myself. And 2002. Yeah, there we go.
All right.
This is why Danny does the intros.
I like 2002. It was a good year for me.
I'm trying to stay out of it and just let it happen, but I'm tempted.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure.
I really appreciate it. So I met you this morning, and I wanted to talk to you more. I wanted to archive this. So
cool.
You are a middle school science teacher. You work for the CTA. You are also on the negotiating team for your district. So
I
please,
wear a lot of hats.
You wear a lot of hats, and I'm sure you have got a lot of stories to tell us.
I do, and I don't tell most of them publicly. So,
well, thank you for taking the time to tell us about
I
that.
have the opportunity to teach 3 periods a day of honors, physics, and chemistry in middle school. So I get to set stuff on fire, blow things up, keep kids engaged. Hands-on is my jam, totally.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And locally, I'm the bargaining chair, so salaries, benefits, class sizes, all the rank and file.
Which area is this?
I teach in the Covina Valley Unified School District.
My wife's in San Bernardino. I know where you're talking
yes,
about.
you're just to the east of us. So Covina is kind of a San Gabriel Valley suburb of Los Angeles.
Just 2 hours to the ocean?
No,
it could be 2 hours to the ocean depending on the time of the day.
Yeah, right.
That's
the joke from
it's
Crazy
28 miles and 5 hours depending on the day.
Okay.
If it's Labor Day weekend, it could be longer.
Right, yeah.
But I teach kids 3 periods a day, and then I'm released the rest of the day to advocate for teachers.
Oh, that's great.
So it's the beautiful balance between bargaining, CTA, New Educator Weekend, and the Institute for Teaching.
Wow.
You wear a lot of hats.
They're the best hats in the world. They're all educationally related, so that's it.
So what's your follow-up, Tavis?
Top that.
Oh, come on, Danny. Leave me hanging.
Did you really?
No, I was just playing
just playing
along.
on. You're good.
Always say yes, always say yes.
Of course.
So, talk a little bit about your classroom. I want to see how you bring your energy to that. I would like to hear about that.
Honestly, my way of relating to my kids is authentically. I used to try to pretend that I was like the cool teacher or the friend teacher or the teacher in charge, and none of those fit.
Yeah.
So I just let the kids realize that I'm as weird as they are.
Yeah.
And
isn't that a wonderful
adolescents
moment?
are so receiving of that because no one validates their weirdness.
Right. Yeah.
And then when you just go with them, they're happy about it.
Yeah.
And I'm authentic with them. So if I'm low energy at the door, they joke like, "Hey, where's your coffee?"
Yeah.
Nice.
I have a giant sign in my room that says I'd give up coffee and chocolate, but I'm not a quitter. And they take it to heart. They recognize that, I mainline chocolate and caffeine on a regular basis. So, if I'm low energy, they're like, have you finished your coffee this morning?
I did the same thing with muffins. I start every day with a muffin. I'm like, I know this isn't nutritious, but I feel fantastic. And I'm running circles around you.
Right.
You can't keep up with this.
Exactly.
And then when I'm down, they're like, Mr. Hager, where's your muffin? What happened?
Well, I love when my kids self-regulate during first period. They're like, hey, Danny, slow your roll.
Yeah.
Her coffee's still full.
Oh, dude.
Which means she hasn't had enough, right?
Right.
So they know you.
Totally, they know
You
me.
are an open book to them, and authentic self.
And the cool self part of that is, for me, there's nothing to remember. As I get older, remembering is harder.
Right.
So when I come to these things, they'll say, hey, what are you going to steal? What are you bringing back for us? What's in it for us, right? Everyone needs to know what your takeaway is. I'm like, sometimes, and it depends. Sometimes it's just energy. Sometimes it's
I don't know why he
reinvigoration.
said pens and looked at me like that.
Because you were swiping pens down the hallway off every table.
Like swiping or utilizing for my classrooms. Okay, swiping.
Repurposing pens. That's what I do. I bring them pens.
They're
I
not
bring
doing
them
that table
candy.
any
I
good.
bring them water bottles. I bring them swag.
So fun.
I bring them Nick Ferroni TikTok videos.
Do you give away weird prizes? I love giving away weird prizes.
I also have weird hall passes.
Oh,
like
excellent.
what?
Like name badges.
From
Like, hey, you want to go to the bathroom? You've got to be Michelle Ramos from New Educator Weekend. Or you have to carry that red and blue bag.
Oh, wonderful.
Here's how
Yes.
you know you're out of class.
Yes.
'cause
Now I know what
you're
to do
from
with
my
mine.
class. Yeah, there's multiple uses for them. And they're not shameful, so it's okay. It's
Right,
like just
yeah.
identifying that you're allowed to be out.
Yeah.
We're at a new educator. Am I allowed to ask a question?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. In this new educator weekend, a lot of the greatness of the bright eyes of new teachers is the energy, and you have that energy, and it allows you to do a lot of things. What do you do to keep your energy level up?
I do this. I
This
literally
podcast.
do that. No, well, this podcast,
Sorry.
yes.
So you put me into a mode where I could be a smart aleck, and you shouldn't have enabled that. From the start of the conference, nobody was here, except if you're listening, you weren't here, but in the conference, you announced us, and I went, woo! And I was the only one.
No, I think Tavis went with you. I thought that was a twofer.
I actually went,
And you at the podium said what? What was it?
That you were misbehaving and disruptive, and that you would have detention
In
later.
a room full of new teachers.
And here we are.
yeah.
This is detention.
It's happening. How do you stay so positive?
That's really hard. I just
I
really
didn't break it, did I?
Yeah, you broke it. You totally broke my thinking. I think it's what the kids do to me, and I think it's what new educators do to me. That remembering why.
yeah.
Remembering why, staying close to it, being emotionally vulnerable to it, which is sometimes hard as educators. We don't get time to reflect, and these are the moments where I reflect. When I sit with other educators and they ask me hard questions, I go, I don't know. I always say to people, I have two modes. It's on and off. So when you get me, I'm likely to be 150%. I was joking earlier with our keynote when you guys probably talked to Nick or
Yeah,
you're going
we did,
to. He says I'm more New Jersey than he is. So that's kind of
That's
a good assessment.
Yeah.
Full force all the time. Life's meant to be lived. There's nothing else to do. So I come to these and I take away energy. Sometimes that's like a vampire thing.
Yeah.
But remembering why.
And so you're coordinating these events regularly. You want to talk a little bit about that?
So 3 years ago, this was a brand new conference to CTA. If you can imagine that in our history, we had never created a conference just for new educators.
Right.
How is that possible? And I had the lucky serendipity to be serving on the Institute for Teaching Board of Directors, which is the non-political, pedagogically focused arm of CTA. And as a result, was appointed to be the chair of this planning committee, along with three other members, Justin McGee and Eric Enriquez, and to really infuse this new weekend with that approach. And so we started with one, and we sold out, which is something CTA doesn't do. We usually are big enough, and so we sold out. Then we went to two, and we're up to our third year of two. At 600 to 900 teachers a weekend.
Wow.
And so my little group has just continued as well, doing one-day weekends kind of as follow-up to this.
I see. It's really a valuable resource because we were talking about this earlier. We know what burnout is like. The rates are so high in the first 3 years. And I would say it wasn't until year 4 I really felt like I knew what I was doing as a teacher. So
that was fast.
Yeah, right? Yeah. And year 9 is where I felt like I got this. Like I know how to run a classroom. But yeah, just to give them as many tools as possible. And I know we've tried certain things, like we in California we have to go through the BITSA induction program.
Not always helpful.
Not always helpful. In fact, it was a lot more work in the end. And so I think bringing in these keynotes, bringing in all these wonderful people that are going to speak to the heart of what we're getting at, not just the content,
the theory,
the testing. Did my action plan get the results that it was supposed to?
Did I get in my 4 Bloom's level questions?
Right.
Yeah.
We're talking about the heart of it, about why we do it, about the people, and I really applaud that effort.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah. I think having teaching teachers is the most valuable component to this. Yeah. I love telling people, and it's very much a pride position for me to say the people that you're sitting with go back to kids on Monday. Yeah. That's valuable. They're not trying to sell you a textbook or a theory or a course. They do what you do, and they're here not because they're getting paid, but because sharing matters. Yeah. And as professionals, we need to do that.
Well, and also, like, a credit to you is, like, we just met you and we're already having a lot of fun with you. And when you put fun people who enjoy being in a place, it makes everyone feel better about what they're doing.
Oh, absolutely. I really think the moment that this job is not fun is when it gets hard and when you get burned out. Yeah. And finding your tribe, I say that, find your family, find your tribe, whoever those people are who feed you, even if they're not in your building, is critical. If they're in your building, that's better. I mean, my neighbor teacher and I are like constantly joking and talking. We want a hole in our wall between our classrooms. That's
just a little window you can open.
Yeah, just like, hey, I'm still alive in here. Could you help? But that kind of camaraderie and collegiality is what fights burnout. Mm-hmm. When we get siloed, when you close your door and pretend you're an island unto yourself, right, you're on your way out.
Absolutely. One thing I've noticed about this conference is there's a huge social justice bent to it.
Absolutely.
Even after the keynote, you had somebody get up there and talk about affective listening skills and how to have hard conversations. And I wanted you to speak a little bit about the choices that you made.
Well, actually, the 2 folks who actually ran that component have done it before, and were really able to explain the value of having that. And when you look at having young people, our young teachers are more diverse than ever. I've been at this almost 30 years. I should be proud to say, but it makes me feel old in this context. And, teachers were predominantly white females, and that's not the case anymore. And that's awesome that our new teachers reflect our school population better than we ever have. But those 2 differing populations, and then you throw in kids, sometimes creates tension. Yeah. And to pretend it's not there is not the solution. To actively embrace it and say, hey, I need to know how to value you. And I think most people have gotten that, like relationship skills, even when you're, dating. You're like, hey, how do you need to be appreciated? How do you need to be communicated to? If you're going to do that with your spouse, why aren't you going to do that with your students? Yeah. You probably spend more time with your students than your spouse in some cases. So we just think it's really sets the stage, because when they leave that big room, they're going to go into these smaller rooms and continue harder conversations. Right. And doing it in a way that promotes civil discourse. Yeah. Right? I mean, emphasis on the civil. Yeah. Is really important.
And there were a few takeaways that I really liked that I wrote down. Like just identifying when you're taking a risk, right. Identifying it to yourself and to the people that you're taking the risk with.
Right.
That, I think, right there could take us a long way, because we're being vulnerable in that moment and just truthful to how we're feeling.
It's also a good thing to use with kids.
Yeah.
When you tell kids, I tell kids all the time, like, hey, I've never done this lesson before, especially first period. It goes over like, really?
Yeah,
Never?
Yeah.
I'm going to try something. Might not go so well. I might seem awkward. The PowerPoint, the video, whatever might not work, but we're going to do this together.
Yeah, totally. Plus, get their feedback after. So what would you change? What did you like?
What worked for you?
What was lame about it? What can we do better? I do that all the time.
Kids dig it.
Involving them in the iterative process.
Yeah, they realize that you're a human applying an attempt.
Yeah. Right. And that nothing's the best the first time, right?
Unfortunately, this is the best first-time interview that we've had. This is really great. I'm sorry, Nicholas Ferroni. This apology, I didn't know I'd have to do so soon. But thank you so much for taking time.
No problem.
We know it's
It's
a
my
busy
pleasure.
day, and
Yeah.
it's great to talk with you. And thanks for getting us fired up in the middle of this. This is a lot
I
of fun.
appreciate y'all being here and doing what you do, because inspiring educators,
Yeah, that's why we're here.
great work.
Great. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so
Really
much.
appreciate it.
You want to close? Let's see.
Oh my goodness, can I get the year right? And that has been Inspiring Teachers for another week. No, you should do this, Danny.
And so until next week, class dismissed.